It is a good Friday evening here in the Commonwealth Rupp Arena as the Kentucky Wildcats take the lids off the baskets, getting ready to take on NAIA's Georgetown Tigers, just 15 minutes away here from Lexington. He is the great Jimmy Dykes. I am Mike Morgan. It's terrific to be with you. And Jimmy, as we comprise yet another Kentucky basketball squad, while everybody else in the nation seems to be wanting to get old, Coach Cal still relies on elite freshmen.
Well, he's always said if he has to choose between talent and experience, he's going to go with talent. He did it again this year. He built this roster around an outstanding recruiting class, the nation's #1 class. Justin Edwards, Mike, a lot of folks feel like he's a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. DJ Wagner, to me, has a little Derrick Rose in him. This is a loaded up freshman class. They have to deliver. They're going to have to come through. Major minutes out of this class in January, February, March will determine just how good Kentucky ultimately is. They got some experience as well with Antonio Reeves and Trey Mitchell. This is a Kentucky team, once again, they start the year with their eyes set on a deep, deep run to March. They have the pieces to pull it off. It's going to be a long process to get there.
Certainly not all #1 recruiting classes are built the same. Coach Cal's had plenty of them. This one might be a cut above some of the others. If some of the looks that we've seen thus far translate into the regular season. Let's get this thing started. First of a couple exhibition games for the Wildcats, taking on Georgetown and NAIA Power. And already quick hands on the first possession by Justin Edwards. Wildcats on the breakaway, it's Thiero.
If Georgetown's going to hang in this game, they cannot turn the ball over, live ball turnovers. Let the speed and the length of Kentucky dominate this game.
Jimmy, I know you had a chance to go to Georgetown's practice yesterday. You like what you saw?
I did, but they're not playing Kentucky Christian tonight. They're playing the Kentucky Wildcats, so that's a different level. But this is an NAIA powerhouse. They've had 16 Final Four appearances. An older team that's built to hang in this game if they can make shots.
And it'll be out of bounds to Kentucky. Of course, the difference in size you would expect is there, although we should note early on, Kentucky is going to be without their 3 7-footers.
Yeah, so as a result, it's an even size game to start with. Georgetown very well coached by Chris Briggs, a former student manager here at Kentucky, graduate assistant. This team in black, they know what they're doing, but it's a step up in competition.
Mitchell tried to thread the needle, deflected out of bounds by Kyron Jones. Mitchell is a young man. He's going to bring some experience to the table. 92 career starts going back to UMass and, of course, last year as well at West Virginia. It's Mitchell on the baseline, out to Reeves. Reeves probing, firing, and rejected. Almost out of bounds, and it will be out of bounds. Off his pogo stick was Rashad Bishop. Bishop out of Louisville, Kentucky, Ballard High School.
You know, Georgetown starts 6'8", 6'7", 6'7", 6'5". That's good overall length. This is a team in black that one of the favorites to get to the NAIA Final Four this year.
Another block by Bishop, and it'll be a shot clock violation on Kentucky. Well, Rashad Bishop could tell his kids years from now he blocked 2 shots at Rupp Arena in the first 2 minutes of the game.
You know, 12 out of the 16 on this Georgetown roster are from the state of Kentucky. Right. It's a big, big deal to play in Rupp Arena.
And as you mentioned, they are an NAIA powerhouse. 3 national titles, including 2 with Coach Chris Briggs on the sideline. 13 and 2019, the last one. That's going to be a bump foul on Thiero. You can take a look at some of the history. Chris Briggs, the head coach, who was actually an assistant going back to the Tubby Smith days, the 2 national championships under his watch, 2-time NAIA National Coach of the Year.
They don't lose at home. 7 home losses the last 5 years total for Georgetown College.
18-footer for the baseline, rattles home from Rashad Bishop. What are you looking for out of this game offensively from Kentucky?
Well, I'm looking for their identity, and it's going to be a development throughout the year. But you know, they're starting 4 out with Mitchell playing an undersized 5 guy on the inside. Anytime Kentucky, to me, gets an ISO situation tonight, it's advantage Kentucky. If you're Georgetown, you have to team guard the entire night.
Antonio Reeves, who was such a key player a year ago, averaging 14.5 points, shot 40% from downtown. That's going to be a offensive foul to go against 24 Rashad Bishop, who's been awfully active here in the early going.
Like early, I love the ball pressure from Calipari's lead guard, DJ Wagner. He's really heating up the basketball, making life difficult for Georgetown to get started in their offense.
Coach Cal, 387 wins with Kentucky, now in his 15th year. Boy, does time fly. Coach Cal, 15 seasons now in Lexington. Drive and kick, sets up a three. Another block by Georgetown. That's three, and then stepping out of bounds is Edwards. They are active on the defensive end.
Yeah, this is a Georgetown College team that they're older, they're experienced off of a Final Four run last year, only lost 2 guys out of their top 9. They're built to have success not only in this game, but all season long. They are one of the 4 or 5 NAIA teams right now that you would say have a legitimate chance to win that national title.
There's something to be said no matter what level of basketball it is, teams that know how to win. They win about 30 games a season. Turnover into the hands of Kentucky. It's Reeves. Gets it to go.
Mike, I do think Reeves has improved from last year to this year, making plays through contact. And we know he can shoot the ball. He's got a sweet stroke. But his ability to drive the ball and finish at the rim has accelerated since last year.
Nice floater that time by Jaquay Wales, also out of Louisville, Kentucky. Such a big addition. We talked about Mitchell and then Reeves, to have him another year to blend in with all those freshmen.
No, it's interesting that Antonio Reeves wasn't for certain that he was going to come back this year, and a group text message between the freshman class and Antonio Reeves, they pretty much sold him on, you are the missing piece. And you love teams that there's no selfishness, there's no greed, and this is a very close young team that Kentucky has.
Last foul was the second on Bishop for Georgetown. Shot clock ticking down to 10 now for the Wildcats. Deep three on the way. Wagner misfires. Tapped around, and Kentucky, great hustle by Edwards. Finds Reeves from 16. Back iron, Reeves gets his own rebound. 3 ball on the way. Left it short, did Edwards. Kentucky, usually a great rebounding and offensive rebounding team. That was no difference last year. Number 1 in the SEC with a plus 9.5 rebound margin. Air ball fired up. There's Thiero to clean it up. He lost it though. Nice steal and finish that time along the baseline by Dozier.
Really good overall quickness by the visitors right now. And those 50-50 plays, to me, the team in black has won 2 or 3 of them already in this game.
Georgetown proving they can take the first punch here by Big Blue. There's a brick fired up by Edwards. Here's Reeves probing, leaves it off for Mitchell on his stuff.
Kentucky's got to hammer the offensive glass. I know it's an even-sized game, but Georgetown so far not determined to hit first and find the ball second on that offensive glass for Kentucky. Kentucky needs to make them pay.
Georgetown out of the Mid-South Conference of NAIA. Brooks Harris, their leading scorer, up top, number 0 in black.
Georgetown, similar to Kentucky, all 5 guys can move the ball, pass the ball, drive the ball. They are a hard cover.
Great 30 seconds of defense right there by the Wildcats. 14:39 to go. It's Kentucky 8, Georgetown 6 here from Rupp Arena. Back with you here from Rupp Arena. Mike Morgan, Jimmy Dykes. What do we know about Georgetown College, located 15 miles from Rupp Arena? Small enrollment, just over 1,200 students, a member of NAIA, the Mid-South Conference. They're not just good at basketball, they've been a power in a number of sports, including college football. You see the 3 national titles in college basketball, 16 what they call Fab Fours at the NAIA level, 42 national tournament appearances. They had the longest streak of any program making it to the tournament from NAIA. So this is not, if you just want to schedule like a cakewalk, these are not the guys you put on your schedule.
No, not at all. They were 30-6 last year, advanced to that Fab Four in Kansas City. I love the fact that Billy Ray Cyrus, a graduate of Georgetown College, at least he attended there.
Yes,
him? Billy Ray Cyrus,
absolutely.
Achy Breaky Heart.
Achy Breaky Heart.
Yeah.
It's on my playlist today as we speak. A number of prominent players and coaches and alums to come out of Georgetown. Happy Osborne was their legendary coach for 15 years before he left as an assistant. And that man, Chris Briggs, was an assistant for Happy Osborne.
Well, Chris Briggs is happy about his club active defensively. Already 3 blocks in this ball game. No back down right now from Georgetown College early in Rupp.
Coach Cal telling us we're likely only going to see about 8 players. That's a low number, Jimmy, for this type of game for Kentucky.
Yeah, it is. So he comes out of that first media timeout and puts Jordan Burks in the game. Kid with a big motor, 6'9" in that freshman class. And Rob Dillingham, another little jet quick point guard right here, 0 in white.
Dillingham's the one who had 40 points in the blue-white game, but he just coughed it up there, a turnover.
Freshmen typically don't value the basketball near as much as the head coach.
Right. Spin move, dipsy-do, wildly off the glass. Rare offensive rebound for Georgetown, and there to lay it is Bishop.
Bishop is a load of a talent for the NAIA level. Now, his motor doesn't always run 100 miles per hour, but I think he's growing into it. He's set for a big year. Another careless turnover by Kentucky.
2-on-1, Tigers. Wow. Alley-oop stuffed by Brooks Harris. It's Georgetown with block shots, alley-oops, showing some athleticism. Missed 3 by Big Blue.
Mike, one of the goals for Chris Briggs coming in was to make John Calipari call a timeout at some point and get onto his guys. We're in that verge right now.
We might be well on our way. Shake and bake up the top by Wales. 3 ball from the wing. And there for the rebound is Edwards. Edwards full throttle into the lane. Edwards with the finish.
He is such a talented board and bring it threat. There's a 6'8" guy getting the rebound off the defensive end. And in 3-4 dribbles, finishing offensively.
MVP of the McDonald's All-American game, Justin Edwards. Young man they're going to rely on heavily to play like more than just a freshman. Right of the lane, carving up space inside and muscling it through is Kyron Jones.
Like, he's a really good player. He's going to be an All-American most likely at the NAIA level. That dude is just a warrior, capable of getting 18, 19 rebounds any night that he's on the floor.
Mitchell on a 3, got it. Trey Mitchell.
So you have a shooter right now at the 4 spot with Burks now playing the 5. Mitchell with the trail 3. Valuable pickup for Calipari late in that portal.
92 career starts for Trey Mitchell. Around the horn and a steal by Kentucky. And then a foul. That's probably it's going to be out of bounds rather to Kentucky. Yeah. A break for Georgetown. That would have been a slam on the other end. Sheppard checks into the game for Kentucky. Reed Sheppard, at the last name sounds familiar. Yes, his father is one Jeff Sheppard, part of 2 national championship teams at Kentucky, 96 and 98. 1998, he was the Final 4 most outstanding player. There's Jeff Sheppard. I was talking to Cameron Mills, part of those teams. I was asking him the difference between Reed and Jeff. He said, well, Jeff's maybe a little more athletic in terms of vertical leap, but he believes Reed is a better shooter right now.
If he's open, it's in. That's how I describe Reed Sheppard after being around him for 6 days a couple of weeks ago. One of the better shooters Cal has ever recruited at Kentucky.
There's a steal by Dillingham all the way. Dillingham muscles it home. Dillingham put on about 20 pounds of muscle after this team competed in Canada in the offseason.
That hard ball pressure of Kentucky has bothered Georgetown College. 3 or 4 possessions, just the right place, right time by my guy, Kyron Jones.
It's a rare slip and fall assist leading to the basket. Reeves stepped out of bounds, turnover to Georgetown.
And athletes for Georgetown College early, the quickness battle, the speed advantage right now for Georgetown College, out and able to run off of a turnover. We got a close one in Rupp early. The Tigers hanging with the Wildcats.
SEC tied a conference record for most teams in the NCAA tournament last year with 8. As you look at the preseason poll, Jimmy, a lot of the usual suspects. Who do you like as some of the other teams maybe we're not seeing on that list?
I think Missouri is going to be a whole lot better than what people think, but look at that list right there. Tennessee old, A&M old, Arkansas old, Alabama fairly old, Auburn, Mississippi State. And this is a league that you mentioned they had 8 teams in the NCAA last year, which set a tied for the record. I think it will go above that this year. I really do. I believe there's 9 or 10 possible NCAA tournament teams this year in the SEC, which I think will be the most of any conference out there. Now, they have to take care of business in non-conference. There's big non-conference games with all those teams right now we're seeing on that left side graphic. But if this league gets its work done in November, December, like I think it's capable of doing, you're going to look at a league come Selection Sunday that has, I think the fewest teams would be 8, and it could be as much as 10. That's a monster year for the SEC.
I'm right there with you, and you and I have been around this league long enough to watch the progress of it, the depth of this league. There was a time you'd be happy to get 4 in the Big Dance. Now 8 is kind of the standard, and as you said, could be looking at 9 or 10. How about a team like Florida? They invaded the portal, got a lot of talented players.
Yeah, completely flipped the roster to Todd Golden. They are wired offensively to be really, really good this year. I saw Missouri practice a couple of weeks ago. I love their depth. I think Missouri's better this year than they were a year ago, and they are an NCAA tournament team.
Coach Gates in his second year, what a terrific start to his life in the SEC last year. Shot clock at 8. Tigers, nice pass inside, rejected though by Trey Mitchell. On top of everything else, Mitchell brings you some length at 6'9".
Length, experience. No, he's a kid, as he checks out right now, that from day one he felt comfortable and confident with his voice leading a young team. I think his voice and DJ Wagner out of the freshman class, probably the most vocal guys that Cal has day in and day out.
Little full court pressure here on display by Georgetown. Again, we've only seen 8 Wildcats in the game so far tonight. Kentucky playing without 3 7-footers, 2 of which are nursing injuries, 1 of which is waiting on eligibility, as there's the open 3 and the pretty stroke on display by Reed Sheppard.
Like I said, if he's open, it's in, and that's a great find by Dillingham to get downhill with the sole intended purpose of weak side or help defense coming off of Sheppard. Nothing but the bottom of the net.
Sheppard out of London, Kentucky, southeast of Lexington, straight down 75. Baseline jumper is an air ball. Kentucky in transition, led by Dillingham. Little crossover to Sheppard, quick release. That one rims off. Quickly in the front court. And a foul is hitting the deck is Dozier.
Reed Sheppard, over 3,700 points in high school. And when his feet are set and the ball is delivered right at the numbers, he's going to shoot 60, 65% from the three-point line. Now, he's not going to get that many open looks in the SEC play, but he does have a shot fake. He's got some athleticism about him to play off of his jump shot. But again, one of the better shooters that Cal has ever recruited at this school.
How do you like that form? Is that not a thing of beauty?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Are you not amazed by some of the top players we see, highly rated guys, McDonald's All-Americans? You look at the jump shot and it's broken. As a 19-year-old phenom, how does that happen?
They don't spend enough time on it growing up. They weren't taught properly. But Reed Sheppard told me during pro day that his dad, from the time he was young enough to shoot a basketball, had him shooting with a normal-sized ball on a 10-foot goal. And normally kids that start like that, they have bad shooting habits. They launch it, they throw it. Not Reed Sheppard. That stroke is as good as you'll find.
Wildcats up by a deuce. Here's Sheppard weaving it over to Reeves. Reeves on the attack, high floater off the window and in.
You go to the dribble drive action, and it's hard dribble drive, man. You got multiple guards now on this Kentucky team that can get downhill.
And now a steal. Showtime for Burks. .40.5-inch vertical for one Jordan Burks.
If you're Georgetown, you cannot throw a pass tonight that's further than 12 feet. Those longer passes will be rip and run opportunities for Kentucky.
In the trees, second effort, and corralled. Great hustle that time by Jones, and Jones weaves his way to the bucket.
Guy's got a big heart, doesn't he?
Yes,
He's
he
a
does.
really good player.
On the attack, rejected. That's 4 blocks already for Georgetown. Isaiah Mason with that swat.
If you're taking a shot attempt in traffic, that's going to happen. Most time when you take a bad shot, it gets blocked.
Well, everything that you said leading up to this game, Jimmy, is coming to fruition. Georgetown was going to be a problem at times. They have been in this first half. 3 ball from the corner. Sheppard, stop and pop, and gets the friendly bounce.
Yeah, he gets a friendly bounce because he's a really good shooter. Bad shooters don't get that bounce. Right. He hit the front of the rim, but it was so soft with a great rotation. He gets the fall. 15 in white will be hard to keep off the floor this year for Kentucky.
5 quick points for Sheppard off the bench. Deep 3 on the way. Kicks off the iron, tapped around, and Reeves corrals it. Here comes Dillingham. Dillingham never bashful about taking it to the rack.
He's so good in transition. Like that time he went from a high dribble, kind of control, to a low dribble, bam, with a burst. Really good with that right-hand finish.
Largest lead for Kentucky, 8 points with 7.5 to play first half. Baseline floater, kicks off short, and there on the offensive rebound is Jones. He averaged over 10.5 rebounds a game last season. Sheppard. Baseline turnaround jump shot is off the mark by Burks, and a nice job of tearing away the rebound by Georgetown. It's Mason. Crossover, drive, rejected. Coming out of nowhere was Reeves. Dillingham draws the block.
It's almost impossible to draw charges here in college basketball with a rule change. We'll talk about it when we come back. Cats up 6.
Week 9 SEC Network College Football triple header all starts at noon Eastern Time with South Carolina battling Texas A&M. Then an SEC West matchup between Mississippi State and Auburn. And then the nightcap will feature Vanderbilt at Ole Miss in Oxford, the SEC Saturday Night Showdown. All 3 games also available on the ESPN app. With Jimmy Dykes, I'm Mike Morgan. Great to be with you on a Friday night here from Rupp Arena. Jimmy, we're always interested in some of the new rule tweaks and changes. This is a case in point of what we might see more of this year.
Well, 90% of rule changes are to favor the offense, and this year, in order to draw a charge if you're a defender, you have to be in legal guarding position before the offensive player puts that foot down, that jump foot, for the last time before he goes to take a shot. Now, I thought that one was a legitimate charge.
Yes.
But that's a rule change this year that you're going to see a lot more blocking calls in college basketball going forward.
Do you like it?
I don't. We've already penalized the defense, I think, way too much. But it's going to make I'll tell you what, if you've built your team off of drivers right now, you have an advantage in college basketball, because I'm telling you, it's going to be very difficult to take charges in college basketball going forward.
Dillingham at the free throw line. Young man who's going to be driving quite a bit. That's a big part of his game, and now he can play through contact a lot better after putting on that extra 22 pounds after Kentucky's successful trip to Canada on the Global Jam. The MVP of that event was Antonio Reeves, who lit it up for 23 points per game in that alley.
Dillingham wants to be great. That's the one thing that I love about him. He really works his tail end off every day. He needs to simplify the game a little bit. He over dribbles some, but man, he's got a gear and a speed that Cal has won a lot of games with out of that lead guard spot over the years.
Well, back to a 7-point game, under 6.5 to go here in the first half. And that's going to be a push foul on DJ Wagner. We haven't seen too much of Wagner's game here. He's 0 for 2 from the field, no points in 8 minutes of work, but I know he's a guy you are very high on.
Well, he's a new wave point guard that can break off the offense and just go get his own. And he has that dog mentality about him, competitive fire. He's the head of the snake for this Kentucky team early this year.
Pretty good bloodlines, too. for DJ Wagner, the son of Dewan, the grandson of Milt. Of course, Coach Cal coached Dewan Wagner at Memphis. And Milt Wagner, a very familiar name to those in the state of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I didn't realize this, but DJ's got a chance to be the first third-generation NBA player ever. Quick hands by Reeves, ahead to Sheppard. Sheppard takes it all the way and rejected. That's the 5th block for Georgetown. Numbers for the Tigers, open 3, got it! Nothing but net for Wales, and it's a 4-point game.
Georgetown very comfortable playing a speed game. They average in the 80s at the NAIA level. They're not going to change what they do for this ball game. Very quick from defense to offense.
Wagner on a blow-by, hanging and firing it home.
He's fast without the ball, but he's faster with the ball as Wagner. That's a good example of it. He can get downhill with either paw. Explosive from 20 feet on the floor to the rim. Kentucky very handsy defensively, like the gambling defensively, reaching that you don't want. I talked about Georgetown's speed in transition. How quickly they flood the floor. They run shooters to the corner. And a good 3-ball bam from Wales.
First foul on Brooks Harris, the returning leading scorer for this Georgetown squad, who made it to the equivalent of the Final Four. They call it the Fab Four at the NAIA level. Pretty fabulous start to this game for Georgetown.
Wow.
Beautiful take. Somehow Tommy Thomas snuck that through the trees.
He is the most popular kid on Georgetown College's campus, first of all. Always smiles, always grateful. Out of Bronx, New York. He's so proud of the fact that he got baptized here in Lexington a couple of weeks ago. But I mean, this kid's a player. He's built like a linebacker in the SEC. Tommy Thomas, only 2 starts last year, but he averaged 7 points in 13 minutes. He's a productive kid when he's on the floor. But I love his story. Came from a difficult background, was raised by his aunt, and just has a grateful heart every day.
Don't look now, but it's just a 4-point game. 4.5 to go here in the first half. Angled pass down low. Mitchell squirts it out. Tough shot off the mark, as Edwards can't get that one to drop.
He's a kid that Kentucky has got to get going, Justin Edwards. Just hasn't quite felt the rhythm of college basketball yet. A lot of talent, just not sure where his offense is going to come from.
So far, Edwards and Wagner have a combined 2 points in this game. Edwards, stop and pop. Too strong. You wonder, a game like this for a veteran, say like a Reeves, might not feel like a lot of pressure. But if you're one of these stud freshmen, that might be a different deal.
As a big-time drive by Cam Brooks Harris. Another guy that has All-American potential about him. Kentucky not gap-heavy with their defense. And 0 in black makes him pay.
Bump foul on Wales. It is a 2-point game here at Rupp Arena.
Monster game coming up in Lexington between the Vols and, of course, your Cats. We'll hear from Coach Mark Stoops as well and start breaking down the X's and O's of this game. Now back to Rupp, where it's tighter than Jimmy Dykes' haircut. Mike Morgan, take it away.
That is tight. That's tight.
Good call.
You got a special guy? Is it
I do.
Back in Arkansas, or does he just fly in to do it special?
No, that's my home guy. What's also tight is the score, like we talked about it. I've been very impressed with Georgetown. It's not the 3-ball from Georgetown. It's their ability to drive the basketball and utilize their overall team speed and quickness. Talked about how well coached they are from Chris Briggs, but he spread the floor out. He's run a lot of 5-out, open in the lane, trying to turn it into a little bit of a one-on-one match as well, feeling like, you know what, my guys can go by Kentucky. So far, so good.
I was talking with Coach Chris Briggs today, who again has deep ties to this program. Born in Paducah, years on the Kentucky bench, going back to the Tubby Smith era. And of course, he took this job first as an assistant under the legendary coach Happy Osborne. Eventually got the job now in his 13th year with the program. And he said, these are the kind of games that we've got nothing to lose. We go out there, we already know we can play with anybody. He was telling me, I was asking him the difference between NAIA and, say, Division II, Division III. He said, I'm going to tell you right now, NAIA can play with anybody in D2. That's not even a question mark. And right now, the way they're playing, Jimmy, they might be able to knock down a few D1 schools.
No, they could, absolutely. I've seen D1 schools that aren't as quick and aren't as talented as this Georgetown team.
A group of guys that just know how to win. Made it to the Fab Four last year. The eventual champion was College of Idaho. What do you want to see better out of Kentucky's offense so far? They haven't really been able to get into a flow.
Well, the ball's not getting reversed quick enough, first of all. They're kind of getting stuck a little bit, and it's a very good overall passing team by Kentucky. The ball has to stay hot.
See if Kentucky can find a hot hand. Into the corner, Reeves probes the baseline and hits the little floater.
To my point, I don't think last year he makes that shot through contact. And he's done it not only in Canada, but in practice as well, and now he's brought it to this exhibition game.
8 points for Reeves to lead all Kentucky scores. The lead down to, up to 6.
Good cut.
And nice hands by Burks. Wildcats, Dillingham. Never met a drive he did not like. And it'll be out of bounds to the Wildcats.
Now, you mentioned Happy Osborne, a longtime coach at Georgetown, 456 wins. The 1998 national title. He was ahead of the transfer portal before it was cool, because the slogan when he was coaching, if you're not happy, call Happy. So if you're a player not happy at another school, call Happy, and it worked out really well for him.
Boy, that should be the modern slogan of all coaches in college basketball. If you're not happy, call Happy and hit the portal. The portal power is just everywhere now. Passports being stamped everywhere you see.
Really good dive by Burks. A ball screen, but he dove hard out of it. The kid's got a motor that's nonstop. He plays to his strength. He plays to what the team wants him to do. I like 23 and wide, although he just got beat and reached defensively.
6-0 run for Kentucky. And a whistle down low that'll go against the Wildcats. Don't forget, Marty and McGee and SEC Nation bring you extensive SEC game previews. They'll be in Jacksonville for #1 Georgia and Florida at 9 a.m. Eastern time, followed by a 2-hour. The SEC Nation that takes you right up to kickoff, both right here on the SEC Network. What about that, Jimmy? I mean, are we at a stage where obviously Kentucky is unique? They're a unicorn in that they get blue chip recruits every year, so you can rely heavily on star freshmen. But for almost everybody else in the sport, it seems like the portal is going to be a huge part of the recipe.
No, absolutely it is. And it's not going to go away. And it makes coaching a little bit more of a challenge right now. Not sure how hard you can coach your guys. Watch out. Wow, the ones you got to make, right?
Dillingham missed the bunny. Perfect alley-oop feed by Burks. Final 90 seconds of half #1.
Georgetown continues to spread the floor, and they're trying to find driving angles. Guarding the ball right now, a premium for Kentucky in this first half.
And that's going to go against Jordan Burks. You know, to go back to, I'm sorry, Jimmy, go ahead.
Well, I'm just talking about the versatility of Cam Brooks-Harris right there. He's a 6'8" kid that's a long wing that can play anywhere from the 2 through the 5 offensively, but he's an active kid. You watch this guy set ball screens, dive out of it, find the ball with his eyes and his hands. He's going to get fouled a lot at the level that he plays at. Oh, he's a lob threat, maybe not so much in this game, but a lot of explosiveness around the rim. This is a well-built roster that Chris Briggs has put together in Georgetown, Kentucky.
Brooks-Harris spent his freshman year at Marshall before 2 years at Barton Community College. And the returning leading scorer for this Tigers squad. A trap action. Dillingham passed up the 3. Reeves won't. Wide open. He won't miss many of those. Follow-up is no good on the rebound of the Tigers. Under a minute to go here in the first half. Inside, wheeling, dealing, and rejected out of bounds by Mitchell. Sheppard will check in for Reeves.
Well, this is always a scary situation early because you have no idea out-of-bounds plays. You haven't been able to scout it. And Chris Briggs is going to take that timeout that he has in his back pocket, knowing that he's got a chance right now to get a 2 or 3-pointer off this baseline out-of-bounds under. If you're Cal, all you can do, Mike, right now is tell your guys you have to have body contact, body on body before the official hands the ball out of bounds, and you're responsible for your dude. Let's don't get all caught up in switching it out and all that. You're taking on an older team right now that has a lot of their out-of-bounds plays are in, and we have to be very physical right now if we're Kentucky and ride through all those screens and force the ball out on the perimeter and lock in right now with 18 on the shot clock.
You know, Jimmy, something we haven't mentioned, and preseason rankings aren't worth necessarily the paper they're written on, but it is weird to open up a preseason ranking and see Kentucky 16. That is the lowest in the Coach Calipari era.
Yeah.
It's only the second time they haven't been preseason top 10. I think the question becomes, okay, well, what is going to take this team over the top? That some of that might be you didn't get the benefit of the doubt, lack of postseason success the last couple of years, but there is an immense amount of talent on this roster.
No, absolutely. You think about it, John Calipari has advanced to the Elite 8 in 10 of the past 16 NCAA tournaments. The Elite 8, 10 of the last 16 double NCAA. There's what I was worried about.
Yeah.
That baseline out of bounds under. They just roll the guy to the front of the rim and a big 2 points and a great timeout by Chris Briggs.
Great first half for Bishop to go along with his block shot, 6 points. Now in transition, alley-oop for Georgetown. There's Brooks Harris on the finishing end.
Cal needs a timeout and calm his guys down. He's got one to use, and that's exactly what he's going to go to. Kentucky right now is being sped up on their home floor. Georgetown has Kentucky playing 100 miles an hour, and they need to back it down and play about 75. The turnovers right now, live ball turnovers, a real problem for their team on the home floor.
A sentence I wasn't sure I would utter tonight. Georgetown in the midst of a 7-0 run.
I'm not shocked.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can miss on a practice. Yesterday, watching Georgetown in here in Rupp Arena for a couple of hours, they were old, they were confident, they ran good offense, they had good talent. Because Kentucky is undersized right now, size wasn't going to be a factor in the game. So you've got an older team with good talent against a younger Kentucky team that has superior talent, but they're young right now, trying to figure out how they're supposed to play, and they find themselves in a 1-point game with 27 seconds to go in the first half.
Regardless of what happens in these 27 seconds, what do you think the message is from Cal at halftime?
Got to play, man. We got to play. It's time to find ourselves early. It's an exhibition game. You're going to always take everybody's best shot, but this is a great growth opportunity for Kentucky. Chris Briggs was very clear with me yesterday. We want to make Kentucky better. We hope we're good enough to do it. I think we are. So far, check that box, yes.
No question. Shot clock off. Kentucky can play for the final shot.
I would go with some type of action for DJ Wagner getting downhill. He's too good with the ball, too explosive. They come back to him, ball screen and go.
He's been quiet in this first half. Now at 10 seconds for Dillingham. Dillingham pulls up 14 feet, crawls off the rim, tapped around, picked up by Georgetown, and a foul, a block foul with 1.5 seconds to go.
That is the 17th foul on Kentucky.
So a 1-and-1 to close out the half. Georgetown can tie it or take the lead. It's going to be Ty Dozier stepping up to the free throw line. He was a 145-pound freshman. They list him at 170. Even that might be generous now.
No, he's 160, because I asked him last night, because I was asking the same question, but this is a kid that was a freshman of the year last year in the league.
Missed the free throw, and that will not count. And that is how the half will come to a close. And what an entertaining half it's been for that man, Coach Briggs and his Tigers. Keeping it close, a 1-point game from Rupp Arena. Time now for the studios. The always tight and sharply dressed Peter Burns. Well, maybe somewhat of a surprising score to many. Kentucky leading by just 1 over the boys from NAIA Georgetown College. 35-34 halftime score. He is Jimmy Dykes. I am Mike Morgan. We did look it up, by the way, Jimmy. The last time Georgetown defeated Kentucky, these two teams have played a lot over the years. You got to go back to 1927, a 26-19 thriller, a win for Georgetown. You did not cover that game.
I did not.
But you are covering this one. What did you think of the first half?
Well, I'm not surprised. This is an older Georgetown College team that, they're coming off of a Fab Four appearance last year. They know how to play and they know who they are. And Kentucky, obviously so young, trying to figure it out on the fly. The size of the game is even, so you got the athleticism of Georgetown that has factored in this game with multiple block shots against multiple guys from Kentucky. Not just within one guy, several guys have got their stuff swatted. I like the speed, the quickness, the aggressiveness, and the confidence that Georgetown College has played with from the opening tip. They are a fast, hardwired team that's driving the ball. They've only made 1 3 out of their 34 points. But they have the speed and the quickness to hang in this game. Now, Kentucky has to guard the ball better in the second half. They're going to have to start dominating the glass more than they have. Kentucky only +2 in the rebound department. But they got their hands full. Kentucky does early right now. Figure out who your fighters are, who wants to step up, who wants to compete when things are questionable. This kid right now for Kentucky, Justin Edwards, to me, he's got to get going.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the top 2 or 3 kids in the freshman class this year that's supposed to make an immediate impact. The lights are on. What will he do in the second half?
The other one, of course, is Wagner. Both of them only had 2 points in that first half. We'll see if they come out with a better second half here. Wildcats with the basketball up by 1. Mike Morgan, Jimmy Dykes here at Rep Arena Friday night. And there's a hoop and harm. Thiero with an and 1.
A really good scoring cut by Thiero out of the corner. And a good find by Mitchell. They go 4 around 1 and let Mitchell roll out of it. And then Mitchell, who's a very, very good passer. You can run offense through Trey Mitchell. And delivers the pass. The timing of Thiero's cut was perfect.
Thiero now a sophomore. He's one of those young men who has discovered fishing. Orlando Antigua actually has a little pond in his backyard. A lot of these players have bonded over fishing. Jimmy, I hope we reach the point in our relationship where you and I can catch a fish together. Someday.
He'll have to wait a few months.
There we go. He caught a nice steal and bucket that time.
He's playing the 4 position for Kentucky tonight. He's a natural 3 is what he is, but he's got his opportunity. He's got minutes guaranteed right now with injuries across that front line. He's got to take advantage of it.
Kentucky gets a stop on defense, transition the other way. Numbers for the Wildcats. Not anymore, however. Now a kick out 3, knocked down by Reeves. He's got 11, and Kentucky off to a rip-roaring start.
And just like that, putting pressure on Georgetown College. Chris Briggs probably thinking about a timeout. The ball movement for Kentucky to start the second half has been better than the first half. Thiero drives it, makes the defense respond to the drive, and a good spot up by Reeves from behind.
What a luxury to have Antonio Reeves back for another year, and as you mentioned, he's added other elements to his game. 8-0 run for the Wildcats to start this second half off. Swarming defense by Kentucky. 15-footer, kind of unorthodox form by Jones. He brings it back behind his head, but nothing but net.
Yeah, good player. Was not great offense. I mean, Jones just created something, and his defender backed off and gave him a wide-open 15-footer to end that 8-0 run.
Mitchell whips it to Reeves. Open tray and rims off. There is Edwards. Offensive rebound. Missed the hook shot. Got another rebound. And we'll go to the free throw line. Active Justin Edwards on that possession.
Well, forcing himself into the game like you have to do on the offensive glass. Good job by Justin Edwards.
Dozier on the foul for Georgetown. Edwards, a 6'8" freshman out of Philadelphia. MVP of the McDonald's All-American game. One of the most highly touted freshmen in the land. The SEC Women's Soccer Tournament begins on Sunday afternoon with first-round matchups at 2 and 4:30 Eastern Time. Pensacola, Florida will host this year's 10-team single elimination tournament. We'll have every match through the finals right here on the SEC Network.
Who do you like in that?
Arkansas.
Yeah, I think they're ranked top, number 10 in the nation, I believe.
That's osmosis. That's all those hours logging the SEC Network. You're not going to have me break down the offsides trap, are you?
What are we doing? is what John Calipari's asking his guys right now. I mean, our defense has gotten some stops, careless for the basketball again. The turnovers for Kentucky now up to 8.
Quick hands that time by Thiero. Ahead of the pack, it's Reeves. Reeves on the breakaway with a two-hand slam. Almost a walk, and now a steal anyway by Mitchell to Edwards. Edwards gliding and draws another foul. Well, Edwards has certainly been more active here in the second half.
Mike, until Kentucky figures out who they are offensively, they're going to have to win games on the defensive end. And it's been since 2019, Kentucky has not had a top 30 national defense. And they're going to have to buy in and dig their heels in on that defensive end of the floor this first 5 or 6 weeks until they get all their guys healthy and available.
You know, you hear the word for successful teams in college basketball so often, the word connected. It's hard to be connected when you have the continual turnover Cal has, right?
It is, but that's the state of everybody in college basketball. I mean, your roster is going to change every year now going forward with the transfer portal until we change the rule and get some common sense about what we're doing. Now, this kid was so highly recruited, one of the top 5 kids in college basketball or high school basketball last year, according to most of those that cover it for the recruiting purposes. And he should make a living on the defensive end and on the glass early. And his offense will come. He's too good of an athlete.
13-2 Kentucky run to start the second half. You won't see a lick of zone in this game from either side. So if you like man-to-man, you've come to the right place.
Got to get downhill.
Wales, 2 on the shot clock. Wales, desperation heave, and he drops it at the buzzer.
Wales with a whale of a shot. Great recognition by the senior point guard to know where that shot clock was and to get it off.
He fooled me. I thought he had no idea the shot clock was ticking down, and he had the awareness to fire it off in the nick of time.
And look at this, with right at 1 second to go, the floater, and he's got that in his game. I know Chris Briggs has talked to him about being more of a scorer and looking for his shot. A veteran kid, ton of starts under his belt, handling that ball.
Drive and a foul. Nice take that time by Seth Johnson. I beg your pardon, by Brooks Harris.
Mike, fouling negates effort. Kentucky, John Calipari extending his defense. The effort is good, but you negate all that effort by fouling at the back end of your pressure.
How much different do you think this defense will look when you start adding those 7-footers on the back line?
Well, John Calipari will be the first to tell you his best defensive teams and his best teams at Kentucky have averaged over 6 blocks per game. They have not hit that mark the last couple of years. They've been actually under 5. So you have to have a rim protection presence on the floor as this season progresses.
Of course, Aaron Bradshaw nursing a foot injury. Ivisic they're still waiting on. In terms of eligibility, they're 2/3 of the way home there. Onyenso, of course, the other one, the sophomore out of Nigeria.
I like it. I like it a lot. You just throw the ball to Mitchell up top. A little bit of the get action that DJ Wagner didn't get the ball back allows Mitchell just to square up and shoot. And he can really space the floor from the 4 or the 5 spot wherever he's playing.
Been a productive player no matter where he's been, including West Virginia. His last stop with Coach Bob Huggins. The lead swells to 11 for the Wildcats. Fade and fire, air ball, follow, no good. Edwards with the clear. Ahead to Thiero. Reeves, triple, got it, nothing but the bottom of the net.
A really good job by Reeves to run to that deep corner and put pressure on that Georgetown defense. So now the Kentucky run game is a big factor here in the second half. I'm talking about with Mitchell. You back off of him. He's too good of a shooter, too good of a release. And then on the very next possession, after Mitchell knocks down a 3, Reeves does, and Kentucky with a hot start in the second half.
Well, we mentioned the absence of the Kentucky bigs for this ball game tonight. And of course, Zvonimir Ivisic, the 7'2" freshman from Croatia, is one of the young men that Coach Cal and company is waiting on. He has been cleared to practice and play in intra-squad games. As of right now, he cannot compete against outside competition. That does include these exhibition games. So until he's fully cleared, Big Z, as they called him, will not be able to play in these ball games. Obviously, he'd be another body, Jimmy, that they'd love to have, and they certainly are high on Aaron Bradshaw, one of the top-rated big men coming out of high school.
So you have 21 feet right now that's not available yet for Kentucky, but Big Z has been on the NBA radar since he was about 16 years old, and that 2019 under-16 Euro Championship is when he started getting on the NBA radars. He's very skilled, right there, kind of leaning in, but 7'2", has a perimeter game offensively. Well, at least at 7'2", gives him some rim protection on the inside. He needs to grow in the physicality part of college basketball. It's going to be thrown at him, but he will be a welcomed addition when he does clear that final hurdle from the NCAA being cleared and able to go. Right now he can practice, he can inter-squad scrimmages, anything like that, just not against outside competition.
So Kentucky, relatively speaking, will play small ball until they've got these 7-footers back and available for Coach Cal. You got a couple of players playing out of position right now for the Wildcats. Of course, they've got some versatility. Cal always talks about positionless basketball.
Didn't we just have a commercial?
We just did. Let's have another one, shall we? Back with more on the other side. Mike Morgan, Jimmy Dykes back with you in Lexington as we go around the SEC. The Vols picked to win it, first time since 2020-21 for Rick Barnes' veteran squad. Chris Beard, as if the coaching in this league is not elite enough, you add the 2019 National Coach of the Year to Oxford, Mississippi, and in the Ole Miss program. And after about a decade of the SEC Big 12 Challenge, we welcome the inaugural ACC-SEC Challenge in late November. And look at these blockbuster matchups, Jimmy.
Yeah, big ball games. Miami off that great run they've had the last couple of years. Wooga Poplar, one of the better guards right now in the ACC, will come to Rupp Arena. Tennessee at North Carolina, a powerhouse matchup. Will North Carolina bounce back this year from a very disappointing season last year? Probably the most disappointing team in college ball was North Carolina a year ago. Texas A&M, Virginia, man, what a slugfest that will be, because neither team scores great, but man, they defend their tails off. And then Duke, Arkansas, I believe it's the 30th anniversary of that Duke-Arkansas NCAA title game. And Bud Walton will be rocking that night.
No doubt. Bring back Corliss Williamson and company. Something tells me they might have a visit to Bud Walton that night. It's a little Scotty Thurman action. Now on Thiero.
Thiero has played well, though. He's got 4 assists in the ball game. He's made 3 of his 4 shots. He's got 3 or 4 rebounds. He and Reeves, older guys right now, especially Reeves, leading this charge for Kentucky.
It was a 1-point game at the half. The Wildcats up by 14 here in the second. Baseline drive. And deflected out of bounds. It'll be Georgetown ball with 7 on the shot clock.
Like DJ Wagner is going to be a all-star defender one of these days. This kid, 21, he's got a lot of Derrick Rose in him, but his competitive fire and grit and toughness, how he moves defensively, is uncommon.
Nice shot, legs spread apart by Brooks Harris.
That's his game. He made 54 threes last year for him. Team high 43%.
Here's Wagner. Navigating. Now driving, stop and pop, and there's a little bit of what you're talking about.
It is. He just has an explosiveness about him. Can get to his spot anytime he wants. He can accelerate all to the rim and finish through contact. He's got the sweet floater and the nice pull-up jump shot. Hard to guard, 21 in white. Look at that ball pressure that he puts on. Yeah, you got to get that bad habit, though. You can get away with reaching against guys in high school, not at this level. He will learn, but his ball pressure is tremendous.
Third foul on Wagner. And he will be rewarded with a trip to the bench for that third foul. You know, it's always interesting, too, this time of year when we're out here doing these games and we're watching these elite five-star freshmen. They're used to dominating everything coming so easy, and now all of a sudden it's almost like you're waiting, if you're Coach Cal, for the game to slow down for them because you're running different offenses, defenses. It's just an entirely different game.
Yeah, I talked about in the first half that Kentucky was playing at 100 miles per hour. Bad foul by Reeves. And that's what young players do. They start playing too fast. And the longer you play the game, the slower the game becomes. Eddie Sutton was my coach at Arkansas. He coached here at Kentucky. That was one of his favorite lines, but it just makes sense. And the game will slow down for Kentucky as the season progresses. But man, careless fouls by Kentucky in this game that I know Cal will have a heyday with on the film session.
That's 12 team fouls for the game on Kentucky, and many of them ill-advised, unnecessary. They're taking a look at review to make sure this was a three-point shot on the foul, to make sure that Brooks Harris gets 3, and there's the confirmation. Step back, both puppies behind the arc. Pretty easy call.
Mike, you look at the success that John Calipari has had at Kentucky. There have been 13 NCAA tournaments since he became the head coach here. Now, they won it all in 2012. And man, they were so close in 2019. They lost in the Elite Eight with that Tyler Thiero, P.J. Washington, Keldon Johnson overtime game to Auburn. They had a legit chance to get back to the Final Four in 2018. They lost in the Sweet 16. Had a shot to win it against K-State. P.J. Washington was, I believe he's like 11 out of 20 from the free throw line. They've been close to getting back there. And that team that, when the COVID canceled the NCAA tournament, they were wired to get back to the Final Four again.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's the footnote that sometimes gets forgotten.
Yeah.
You and I were both out in Nashville for that SEC tournament. In fact, we were about to call the doubleheader an hour before it got canceled. And that Kentucky team with that three-guard lineup, Hagans and Quickly and Maxey, I mean, you can't tell me that wasn't at least a Sweet 16 squad.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they won the SEC that year by 3 games. They would have been a 2 or a 3 seed, but they were playing down the stretch like a 1 seed and one of the 5 or 6 teams that could have won it all. Now, they haven't had great success the last 2 NCAAs, but and overall, what Cal has done with this program with a number of Sweet 16s and Elite 8 is high-level stuff.
The one that still stings, I think, for a lot of Kentucky faithful is that 38-0 squad, the Wisconsin loss. I mean, that team was certainly good enough to win it all. And look, of course, as we sit in the Kraft Center at shoot-around before all these Kentucky games here at Rupp, you have the 8 national championship banners kind of hung up in there, and 2012 just kind of sneaks up on you. I mean, we're coming up on 12 years since Anthony Davis and Kid Gilchrist and those guys, Darius Miller.
But Mike, it is so hard to get to the Final Four. So during that stretch since 2012, I believe there's only been 3 teams that have won the Final Four more than once. That's North Carolina, Duke, and Villanova. So Kentucky hasn't won it more than once, but you know what? Neither has North Carolina. Neither is UCLA, Indiana, Kansas, Michigan State, Purdue, Virginia. It's very difficult to get there. It's harder to win. But Kentucky keeps bringing in elite talent, and they keep knocking on the door. I think they will figure this thing out by the time they get to March. They get their size on the floor because the talent is undeniable this year.
There's a lot to like on this roster. No question about that.
And they play hard.
In traffic by Dozier.
Don't they play hard?
It's unreal. Unreal. I'm going to make an early prediction. They'll be back in the Fab Four of NAIA.
I'm with you. I've been to that NAIA national tournament in Kansas City. Matter of fact, that's the first tournament I remember going to with my dad in the old Kansas City arena. But this is just an effort play. And I love the game that Tay Dozier has. You can play him as the backup point. You can play the 2, the 3 as a 4. But that's what you're looking at right now. If you're a Kentucky fan, you're taking on one of the best NAIA programs in the country. And they're older kids that know how to play the game. That's it. Let him shoot it every time.
He might have another shot at it. He's parked on the left wing as Dillingham buys time, sets up Mitchell on a 3. That rims off. And a whistle away from the ball. It's going to be on Georgetown, maybe a hold.
This should be one of Calipari's better shooting teams. Trey Mitchell can really shoot the ball. Antonio Reeves can really shoot the ball. Sheppard can really shoot the ball. So as a result, you have to now stay attached to shooters on the perimeter. That opens up a lot of drive opportunities, I think, for guys like Dillingham and Wagner.
Dillingham probes the baseline, tries to thread the needle to Burks, can't do it. 9 on the shot clock.
Very hard to make one-handed passes off the bounce at this level, and Dillingham will figure it out.
8 newcomers on this Kentucky roster, 7 of them freshmen. That's one of them, Rob Dillingham out of Hickory, North Carolina. Of course, he was the story in that blue-white game with 40 points. A little more defense on display here tonight. Dillingham on a fade and fire. And gets a very friendly bounce.
He can create his own offense. He and Wagner both. Those are new wave scoring point guards that can just break off and go get you a bucket.
Off a curl. Back up top into the hands of Wales. Shot clock at 7. Swarming Kentucky defense forces the turnover.
Good job of swarming without fouling by Sheppard to rake down on that ball.
Give Sheppard the steal. How about give Sheppard a 3?
I'm not sure he's ever missed 2 open threes in his life. He's done it back-to-back possessions.
You might be right on that one. Sheppard with the foul. Kentucky up 11 here at Rupp Arena. What a first half on display so far by Antonio Reeves. 16 points, 7 of 14 shooting. Just the kind of leadership you want to see, Jimmy.
Yeah, Mike, he was Kentucky's best scorer last year, the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season. And like I said, he likes to draw contact now, which he didn't the last couple of years. Even back at Illinois State, he was a jump shooter. But he is wired to score. You think of some big games he had last year, 37 on the road at Arkansas, 22 in the NCAA win against Providence. Now he struggled mightily against Kansas State. I think he's 1 out of 15.
Yeah.
But you expect your older guards right now to lead your team in scoring. Will he do it all year long? I'm not sure. He's capable of it. It's okay if he is, but I like how he has responded in this second half because it was a 1-point game at halftime. And Reeves has been a big part of this 11-point cushion now for the Cats with 11 to go.
You like 3-point numbers, Jimmy?
I do.
I'll give you some 3-point numbers. So let's go league-wide. There are 4 returning players in the SEC that shot 40% or better from downtown. Reeves is one of them. Will Richard of Florida and Nick Honor of Missouri. So 3 I like. 3, not 4. I rounded up on a couple of those because I'm that kind of guy. If you shoot 39.7,
you're 40 in your eyes.
I'm giving you 40.
Yeah.
I'm giving you 40. But those are some of the top shooters back in the Southeastern Conference this year, and they're going to need him offensively to be a weapon once again. And you see, and this has never been a big part of Cal's teams. They don't shoot a lot of threes, just 18 per game. That was the second lowest total behind only Arkansas in the SEC, but they do so many other things well, they don't necessarily need the 3.
Well, you also coach to your strengths. And if you don't shoot the 3 ball well, you don't launch a lot of them. And they were not a great 3-point shooting team last year. Selectively, they were okay, but this team is different. And I think Cal realizes that he's going to have guys this year multiple guys that can stretch that defense and score off their offense by running shooters to the corner. They've done it a couple of times in this game.
It's 10 turnovers now for Coach Cal's squad. 11-point game at 10:55 to go. We've not seen the Edwards-Wagner display that I think many people tuning in tonight were hoping to see, but certainly plenty of games left to kind of get them going.
And he's going to make you pay in that ISO, just ISO action for Kyron Jones up top. And there's no reason to back off of him. He's proven he's a very good 15, 16-foot jump shooter.
Scooping layup that time by Dillingham.
Always a threat is Dillingham to slice his way to that rim. He's got that next gear that And you have to have if you're going to be good in this league, and Dillingham hasn't.
Seven to shoot. Double team. And again, more swarming defense by Kentucky. Burks landed on the baseline, but still great D by the Wildcats. 2 on the shot clock. Want to remind everybody, triple header tomorrow on the gridiron. Gamecocks and Aggies, Bulldogs and Tigers, Commodores and the Rebels. All 3 games also right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app.
Kentucky's got a big one.
Huge.
Tennessee rolls into town. That's
huge.
Yeah, they were off last weekend and coming off of a stinging loss to Missouri 2 weeks ago.
Kentucky football team staying at our hotel. Located conveniently, not far here from Rupp Arena. Here's Wagner on the attack, throws up the floater. And picking up the loose change is Trey Mitchell. A 13-point lead for Kentucky. Unnecessary foul by Dillingham, about 40 feet for the basket. That's his second.
The majority of Kentucky's fouls have been outside of three-point line in this game. I love the aggressiveness. And we talked to Cal today about how many dogs do you have on your team, competitive, fiery guys. He's got a team full this year. But they've got to back that aggression up a little bit defensively and learn how to play at the college level. Those careless fouls 25, 30 feet away from the rim will get you beat in tough games.
Free throw knocked down by Dozier. Georgetown came into this game playing very active, high-level basketball. They have kept it going. Sometimes when you see a matchup like this, the underdog kind of hits a wall, fatigue sets in. That has not been the case for Georgetown.
No, they have depth. I believe Chris has played 10, 11 guys tonight. And it's an older team. They have not been afraid to be who they are. They full court pressed after made free throws. They've rushed the ball up the floor when they've gotten the thing off the defense. They've made Kentucky work. Now the 5th or 6th block shot in this game by Georgetown. It's crazy.
There's a half a dozen rejections. And I mean, they haven't been cheapies either. Wild shot, follow also wild. 3rd attempt, no. And out of bounds to Kentucky.
Kentucky just refusing to let the ball be reversed. They're icing all the action, Mike, when the ball's on the side, forcing the ball down. And Georgetown driving the ball into chaos 2 or 3 times in the last 4 or 5 possessions.
It's kind of funny how sometimes this goes. We talk about all the super highly touted freshmen. It's been this guy, Mitchell, and the other veteran, Reeves, leading the way. That time Mitchell does turn it over. That's 11 giveaways for the Wildcats. Baseline jumper, rims off. And Kentucky corrals it along the baseline. Got time for somebody else to step up. Maybe it's Sheppard or Wagner. And a block foul on Georgetown.
I almost feel confident saying I will give you $1 this year for every time there's a charge call in a basketball game, because I don't think I'm going to lose a lot of money.
It's not going to do much for my 401k, Jimmy.
It's not.
Might see 7 of them all year. Keep the change. Any other rules, adjustments you're looking at for this season?
I'm waiting to have a game where someone has the number 6, 7, 8, 9, 96, 97, 98, 99, because now the uniforms, you can have any legal number is 0 through 99.
Right. NBA rules, essentially.
Yeah. You know what's cool? Last night, watching Georgetown, every one of their practice jerseys has number 33 on it, to remind them every day that they are shooting for their 33rd straight trip to the NAIA National Tournament. Isn't that a great call?
It's fantastic. They already have the longest streak in NAIA. Heck, that's one of the longest streaks at any level of college basketball.
Actually, Oscar Tshiebwe last year wanted to wear number 9, but it wasn't a legal jersey, to remind him that Kentucky was trying to chase for the 9th national championship.
Right. Well, I'm in favor of that. There with the stick back. Look what I found. It's Adam Niken.
They just won't quite go away, will they, Georgetown?
They will not. It's not as if Kentucky's playing terribly. It's just Georgetown's hanging in there. Edwards on the follow.
If Edwards will fall in love with the trash buckets and the hard plays, his offense is going to come. Now that might be a new description for him from where he came out of high school, but that's where he has to start earning his chops right now.
Again, Kentucky just playing 8 players tonight.
Oh, that can't happen.
That's
I'm just telling you.
Look what I found.
When you ice the ball and you're forcing it down and no one rotates over, knowing where you're funneling the ball, that's a problem.
Mitchell pulls the trigger on a 3.
I like this kid a lot. He's an older guy. Now, he's only played in 1 NCAA tournament throughout his career, so he comes here wanting to be in that big dance. But, man, what a valuable late pickup. Bob Huggins loses his job, and Trey Mitchell takes advantage of it to transfer out, and a key pickup for Cal.
Game high 18 for Mitchell. Dillingham picks the pocket. Dillingham all the way. There is no lack of attacking in Rob Dillingham's game. And the largest lead now for Big Blue.
You think about those great guards under Cal, Tyrese Maxey, Emmanuel Quickley, John Wall, Derrick Rose back at Memphis. And that's when his teams have been at their best because he coaches a downhill driving game at his core. He's got guys this year that's exactly how they're wired.
Great pass into the corner to Sheppard. And a reach-in foul on Stevens.
Kentucky, one of Calipari's better three-point shooting teams, I think, this year, and Trey Mitchell's a big reason of it. You can play him at the 5 as a stretch 5. You can back him out to the 4 as well, but he's always a threat in that trail position is 4 and white.
Well, let's talk about that #1 recruiting class in America and how they performed so far tonight. Jenny, when you look at the shooting numbers, not so hot. Dillingham continues to go downhill, gets layups at the bucket, but everybody else has struggled a bit.
Well, what Cal talked about this afternoon was, what am I looking for in this game? I'm looking for carryover. Are you locked into yourself or are you locked into us? And they have been locked into us. And the shooting numbers aren't great tonight. The talent, the length of this Edwards kids is going to be a factor. There you see the preseason All-SEC team. It's a lot, I think, to put Justin Edwards there. I didn't vote him there. I think freshmen have to prove himself. But those are older guys. The league is eat up with potential NBA players again. Think about this. 89 former SEC players were on NBA rosters for opening day. That's the most of any conference out there. Kentucky leads that right now with 26 guys on NBA opening day rosters, followed by Duke with 24, UCLA with 15, and Kansas with 12.
I will see your nugget, and I will raise you #1 the last 3 years in first-round picks, second-round picks, and overall draft picks have hailed from not the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, right here in the Southeastern Conference.
It's the best collection of head coaches the SEC has ever had.
Oh, my goodness.
Overall, from 1 through 14, it's the best collection of head coaches that this league has had.
I don't think anybody would argue that point. Of course, pretty good addition over there in Oxford with Coach Beard as well.
He's a good player.
He really is. Brooks Harris, 15 points a game a year ago, might be better than that this year.
Well, he's 6'8". He can come off the screens and shoot 3 ball. He flies around on the offensive glass. He's an older kid as a senior. His shot selection at times can get him in trouble, but I like him with a green light. That's an open look for Reeves. He missed everything.
That's where you wipe the hands on the shorts, right? Had to be condensation there, right?
I don't know. Just move on.
Just get back on D. Forget it ever happened. Coming up on the 5-minute mark of this one. Kentucky, more quick hands, another steal. Sheppard, alley-oop pass, and there's Edwards.
You have to be a great shooter, I think, to make passes like that in transition, and Reed Sheppard is. To put that ball on the opposite side of the rim from where he was is not easy to do. What a pass. And another horrible foul by Kentucky.
On another three. On another three. Marty and McGee, they're only two, but they have the strength of three. And Marty and McGee and SEC Nation will be in Jacksonville for #1 Georgia. Take it on Florida. That'll be a 9 a.m. coverage, followed by a 2-hour SEC Nation that takes you right up to kickoff. Guys do a terrific job each and every Saturday morning. First free throw rings off. Now, no matter what happens here in the final 4 minutes and change, Georgetown has certainly showed itself well. Chris Briggs now in his 13th year, has done a terrific job. They'll be a force to be reckoned with at the NAIA level. He followed Happy Osborne. He followed Bob Davis, who was later a coach in the SEC at Auburn. And Kenneth Davis, who was a two-time All-American at Georgetown, played for the '72 Olympic team. Pretty interesting tradition for this program.
It is an NAIA powerhouse. Chris has his master's in kinesiology and health promotion from the University of Kentucky. His wife still works for the University of Kentucky. And he said, I just hope we can make Kentucky better in this exhibition game. Well, they have certainly done that.
Thiero inside. You know how I got some of that intel on Georgetown? When you marry a young lady who actually played softball at Georgetown College,
you learn about the college.
You get all the tidbits. I got everything I need to know.
Tough shot.
Edwards with another. That's his 4th foul.
Watch this pass by Sheppard. Going full speed in transition down the left side, throws the ball to the right side of the rim. On time and on target. Well done, 15.
We talked about some of the preseason rankings, number of SEC teams in the top 25, a couple in the top 10. Kansas 1, Duke 2. Getting Edey back certainly propels Purdue to a high spot at number 3. Anybody out there that you're really high on besides the normal at the top there, Jimmy?
Well, it's a guessing game right now because of all the turnover in rosters for the most part. But I've seen Kansas already practice about 3 weeks ago. They are the real deal. And I think Duke, I would probably flip those two. I would have Duke #1 in the preseason just because of Filipowski, Jeremy Roach, and what they returned. Purdue with Zach Edey, the returning National Player of the Year. Can he go back-to-back? He's got a good chance. Michigan State, a lot of dudes back from a Sweet 16 last year. Marquette loaded up. UConn, I think they're right back in the hunt again. They got to get Donovan Clingan back, who's out with a foot injury right now. Houston makes their move to the Big 12. I think they'll hold up very well in that league. Creighton is loaded up as well. Tennessee, the oldest team, the deepest team in the SEC. And there's Florida Atlantic, a team that made it all the way to the Final Four last year, and everybody's back. So once again, we're set for monster games, and monster games early in college basketball this year. Starting with the Champions Classic. Maui's loaded up. I'll be in the Atlantis for the Battle for Atlantis. Tennessee, North Carolina, Arkansas, Villanova. Just great games to start college basketball in the month of November.
Kentucky and Kansas, November the 14th in that Champions Classic. That'll be in Chicago. The top 2 winningest programs of all time. Kentucky with 2,375. Kansas with 2,370. And as you mentioned, these games, which sometimes get lost in the shuffle in November, December, in terms of conference ranking, means so much come March in terms of how do you separate one power in one conference with another. They go back and they look at all those games in November, December. So you can't underestimate how important they are.
Yeah, I love the SEC, ACC challenge coming after Thanksgiving. You're going to go grown man versus grown man right off the bat. Just a simple play by Wagner right there, Mike. I know he hasn't lit up the scoreboard tonight, but he's getting the heck trapped out of him out here, but he fights his way through the trap, reverses the ball to Reeves on the weak side, who then drives the closeout and gets to the foul line. So there have been a lot of small plays that haven't resulted in points for Wagner tonight, but his power, his understanding of how to play the game, to get the ball movement from one side to the other, big, strong, physical guard that's only going to get better and better.
And he's going to be matched up with some elite guards in the SEC this year. No doubt about that. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch some of those head-to-head matchups. We didn't even mention Wade Taylor, Texas A&M, is one of the best in the country. They've got everybody back just about. And Buzz Williams is going to have a chance to do some great things in College Station this year.
Yeah, he and Boots Radford, as good of a guard combo as we have, not only in the SEC, but in college ball.
Final 3 minutes and change here in Lexington, and another and one for Georgetown.
Tough shot, good player by Jaquay Whale. They go their pistol action, initiate that offense on the side, and just empty out the corner, and he hits a tough runner.
He goes all of 5'11", 165 pounds, but he has had some creative shots tonight.
Now, he redshirted the year that Georgetown College won the national championship in 2019 out of Louisville Butler High School. Really good speed, doesn't turn the ball over a lot, can make hard, tough shots.
They won it in 13 and 19. They lost on a buzzer beater in the championship game in 16. That's a sore subject to this day for Chris Briggs, but he could be sitting on 3 national championships instead of 2.
Well, he's a young head coach. It's going to have a lot of opportunities, I think, open up for him if he wants to leave. Some guys like just staying at really good jobs at the NAIA level. And that guy can flat out coach. And Dillingham has really worked on his shot.
That's a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, he has a massive following on social media because of all of his handles and how good he is with the ball. But his shot, like Wagner, I think is the swing skill in terms of the level that he will eventually reach.
Great ball movement by the Tigers.
And we foul another three-point shoot. What's the record? What's the Rupp record?
I think we're getting close to it, Jimmy. I really do. What is that, 4? And that's just on 3-point attempts. I mean, contests don't foul, right?
Well, there will be a 3-point contest drill in Kentucky's next practice. And that's just all part of the learning curve. These young guys playing with a lot of effort. Speed to the ball, though, has to be under control, and they will learn. And that's what exhibition games are all about.
I will say this about the Kentucky freshman class. You're going to see freshman mistakes. It's part of the growing process, whether it's this game, other exhibitions, or the non-conference slate. But you talk to people around the program, and one thing that they say about this freshman class is the amazing amount of emotional and mental maturity. That is not always the case. Even with 5-star phenoms, sometimes maturity is lacking a little bit. I don't think that's going to be an issue with this crop.
And I see basketball players. I see guys that know how to play the game. They're not just high-level athletes that can jump and run and make spectacular plays. Dillingham knows how to play. Wagner knows how to play. I believe Justin Edwards has a high IQ as well. I know Reed Sheppard. He knows the game as well as anybody out there. So there's great value in having a freshman class not only talented, but they have an IQ for how the game's supposed to be played.
Dillingham has it stripped, got it back, and then threw it away. Here come the Tigers with numbers, 4 on 2. Settling for a 3. And Wagner wins the hustle battle and then has it poked out of bounds.
A 1-point game at halftime. Now Kentucky up 87-69. And that's part of the growth process as well. When things aren't going your way, even in your first exhibition game, playing against someone for the first time other than yourself, figuring out how to win, how to change the game, how to adjust. With 20 minutes to go in Kentucky, defensively, I thought they were better in the second half. They scored off their defense to start the first few minutes of the second half, which really got them going.
Now, one guy we have not talked about tonight, Jimmy, obviously because of his absence, but certainly going to be a key player. I'm curious to get your thoughts on Aaron Bradshaw.
Well, when Aaron Bradshaw is healthy and on the floor, which we don't know when that's going to be, it's still, I think, a ways away. But he's a highly skilled 7-footer that's very confident with the basketball. Dribbling the ball, passing the ball, moving the ball, making shots off the bounce. He committed last year on the night of Big Blue Madness because he was blown away by the just the experience of being in the building. But the little time I've been around him, I think he's a kid with a joyful heart. I think he loves the game. Not all 7-footers love the game. They play the game because they're tall.
That's right.
Not this guy. I think he truly loves the game. But if he's healthy, he is a potential difference maker January, February, and March for Kentucky.
And you can set your watch to it. It's death, taxes, and Kentucky is going to be one of the best rebounding teams in America. And part of that is they're always one of the longest, tallest teams in America, and he'll be a big part of that equation. Rim protection and winning the battle on the glass has been staples in Coach Cal's teams over the years here in Lexington.
You know, it's interesting that to me, Trey Mitchell and Antonio Reeves were the two captains tonight because Cal doesn't name captains. I like how he does it. He says because when the officials come to us for the first game and says, hey, I need your captains, our guys will figure it out. They'll send the right two guys out there. And the two veterans that Kentucky sent there tonight, I know captains aren't a big deal, but what that is trusting your team to know who are our leaders. And this young Kentucky team is going to follow the path of Trey Mitchell and Antonio Reeves, certainly the month of November and December until they figure themselves out.
They certainly played like captains tonight.
Absolutely they did.
Mitchell with 18, Reeves with 18. They have been the guys, even when this game started to get a little bit too close for comfort, whenever you needed a big play, they both came up with big plays and big shots. Final 90 seconds. Hart has it swatted away. Another block for Georgetown. That's 8 rejections for the Tigers.
I know Coach Briggs will be happy with his guys. They came in here and they played their style. They had no back down. They had no fear. They had some costly turnovers. They missed some opportunities inside. I think Kentucky bothered them a little bit around the rim at times. But Georgetown College, we've said it all evening long, will be a factor to get back to their 17th Fab Four in that NAIA level.
Mitchell with a team-high 20 points now for Big Blue. Deep three rebounded by Thiero. To Mitchell. Skip to Sheppard. Up top, Hart, wide open three. Tough to hit those when you've been on the bench for 39 minutes. We know Joey Hart has hops. Mitchell, that's like candy right there. Easy drive, uncontested, and a two-hand flush. 92-69 as the final ticks here at Rupp.
And the timing of the game ending is perfect for me because I've got street tacos already ordered for me at the food truck right across from Rupp Arena by the ice skating rink.
I go to Tony's, you get street tacos.
Yes.
Next time we'll trade. You get the steak, I'll go street tacos.
I don't know the name of the place, but it's the food truck by the ice skating rink. Fantastic.
Never a bad night for tacos, and never a bad night for a Kentucky victory. 92-69 the final. And if you're that man, Coach Chris Briggs, a lot to be proud of, and Coach Cal certainly happy with the way his team bounced back in the second half as the Wildcats have now won 60 out of the last 61 exhibition games. Jimmy Dykes, some final thoughts.
Well, exhibition games are fact-finding missions for all head coaches. And Cal has now a film that he can put on and say, okay, let's talk about what we're doing here. But what you do like is a team that finds a way to win. Because the game was in jeopardy now at halftime. And Kentucky defensively, I thought they were a little more sound on the defensive end in the second 20 minutes, but they were led by their upperclassmen, Reeves and Mitchell, which they should continue certainly during the month of November and December until this young Kentucky talented freshman class finds their game, finds their strength, and understands how the game's supposed to be played at the college level. But a good win for Kentucky.
Mitchell with a game-high 22. Reeves at 18, the two veterans. Some notable non-conference games coming up. Of course, you've got Kansas on November the 14th, Miami on the 28th, North Carolina, December, at Louisville on December 21st. That'll be on ESPN. And Gonzaga on February the 10th. But there's a lot of games non-conference leading up to that that'll help this team continue to gel and get connected, which is always the challenge when you have so many freshmen as Coach Cal's teams do.
Yeah, and Mike, we won't know Kentucky's ceiling, though, until they get one of those 7-footers healthy and playing regular minutes. Because they got to get rim protection. You have to have a post presence in this league, and Calipari knows it, but between Onyenso and Big Z, Aaron Bradshaw, one of those guys will change how Kentucky looks, especially around the rim. They're going to have to get their own shot blocking going, but you got 21 feet of talent sitting out right now. I think Onyenso will be back before Bradshaw. That's just my guess. And Big Z could be cleared any minute. So it's wait and see for Kentucky.
Onyenso, of course, the 7-footer, a sophomore, so he's also got some experience, unlike the other two. Kentucky having to have guys play out of position while those 3 7-footers are not able to report to duty. So you've got some different guys shifting around, and obviously that'll all fall into place when they get a couple of those guys back. Wildcats win it by a final score 92-69. As always, our thanks to our terrific crew here in Lexington. We appreciate you tuning in here on the SEC Network ahead of a big triple header of action on the gridiron tomorrow. And don't forget Kentucky, Tennessee on ESPN. Speaking of big games, we'll see if Mark Stoops and company can pull off a win at home at Kroger Field. For Jimmy Dykes and our entire SEC Network crew, this is Mike Morgan saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening.